Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend D.G. Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there. Everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Lunatics. It's me, Phil. I'm here once again with a special guest, a man who's always kind enough to share his little limited amount of time with us, Mr. DeMatteis. Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you. Always good to be back. It's getting to feel like home when I come talk to you.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yes. Good. So, and of course, as always, you have a bunch of projects to talk about. Like, I do want to get to Robin Lives. I do want to get to the Kickstarter. But I figured, why don't we start with... last issue came out this week. Spider-Man Shadow of the Green Goblin came out this week. So, issue 4 came out.
Hit me with questions.
All right. Well, that's the most important thing these people need to know. So I'm assuming the collection is coming soon for that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when. Sometimes I'm the last to know. I just look through the solicits like everybody else, and I go, oh, look, that's coming out. But I would assume they put them out pretty quick these days.
Oh, yeah.
So if this is, I would think maybe October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would think. But I'm just making a guess, so don't take my word for it. Go scroll around online and you'll find out.
Yeah, but no, me and Lilith were...
For instance, just so you know how I'm the last to know, I just found out on social media that next year DC's doing a big collection of all my Dr. Fate work. I had no idea. I learned that on social media. So I'm not, I'm the first to know if they ask me to write an introduction or something. But if that's not happening, or if they haven't gotten around to that yet, I'm as surprised as anybody else. So sometimes I'm going through the solicits and it's like, oh, really? Look at that. Oh, that's coming out. Oh, that's good. And it's completely news to me.
Well, thank goodness. I mean, that's the big thing. It seems like a lot of your stuff that they hadn't collected it. So good. The Dr. Fate. I want to get that.
And then they just announced this week the Spectacular Spider-Man Omnibus for me and Sal.
Yes, nice.
I've been waiting years and years and years to see. So I'm very excited to have both of these things coming out.
Now we just need DC to put out that Spectre series.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Because it's a nice companion piece to Dr. Fate, too. Kind of carries those themes over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So...
All right, what do you want to ask about Spider-Man?
Well, Shadow of the Green Goblin, I know Lilith and I were raving about it just last night. Just the fleshed out world that it seems like we don't get a lot of times in modern comics anymore with all like the supporting cast, and we're like the idea it's not even that complicated, but it's like in how many decades no one's thought to say, oh hey, whatever was the deal with Harry Osborn's mother.
Well, didn't she? She came back in modern continuity, did she not? I'm pretty sure she did. I don't think this is the first time that we've seen her, so I can't pat myself on the back for that one because she was definitely brought back somehow. I'm not up on this, but I know when we were discussing this story, my editor told me that she had come back at some point. I don't know. I don't know how eventful her return was, or if she's an ongoing part of the series because I'm not up on the current stuff. But But still, there's this whole window there, and this whole story that hasn't been told about that marriage. And what happened to her, and where she went, and what she did, and the story has all the bells and whistles that you want in a Spider-Man story. I mean, there's lots of punching and hitting, and dropping buildings on the bad guy's head, and all that stuff. But at its core, it's really about three different families. It's about the Parker family, Peter and Aunt May, dealing with their grief because it's only literally weeks, like less than a month after Uncle Ben's murder. And each of them is dealing with it in their own not really healthy way. And of course, Peter has the extra guilt of feeling like he's responsible for this on top of everything else. We have the Stacy family where Gwen's mom is dying, so she and Captain Stacy have to deal with that. And then there is the wonderful dysfunctional soup of the Osborn family. You know, I spent years when I was writing Spectacular Spider-Man dealing with the Osborn legacy, and to go back to this period when you know, Peter and Harry, they're only like 15 years old here, to see Harry's relationship or lack of same with his dad, to see the mother come back and unearth all that dysfunction. It's you know, we all have families and we all have dysfunction and stuff that we deal with. So as long as there are human beings on the planet, we will be writing about family relationships, the good and the bad of them. And these three families gave me a lot to play with.
That's what we were saying. I mean, it was so good. The whole Peter thing. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's really done a deep dive in you know, his uncle, you know, the whole thing with Uncle Ben, that whole thing. And then he's all of a sudden thrown into this world. And again, Spider-Man, you know, to the public, the people think he's a grown man. And half of them want him locked in prison. So it's like, and
he's just a kid. Yeah. Think of yourself at 15 years old. That's what really drove a lot of this for me also. Think of yourself at 15 years old, and suddenly you're given these powers. Just because you have them, first of all, doesn't mean you know how to use them. You know, and I refer in here to a story I did a few years back, and when they do the collection, it's going to be reprinted in the collection called The Punch, which is also very, very early, within the first weeks, you know. And he goes to stop a robbery in a grocery store, and he just punches the guy because the guy has a gun, which he doesn't know isn't even loaded. And the guy ends up with a broken arm and broken ribs and a broken leg and in the hospital. And he's completely horrified because, you know, you always hear the superheroes go, well, Superman, I pulled my punch just enough to whatever. Yeah, how exactly do you do that? And how do you do that when you've suddenly been given all this incredible power? How do you know how to adjust that? So in this story, he's terrified to really unleash himself because he's afraid he'll kill somebody, because he very well could. So along with everything else that he and Aunt May are going through, he has this as well. There's a wonderful encounter with the Sandman in the second issue where we deal with that, not just for him, but for Sandman also, who just a few weeks before was just a guy, and suddenly he's this weird body horror sand creature. And I'm not giving away too much to say, at one point in the battle, they're both just exhausted, and they're like, you know, this is weird for both of us. Can we just go sit and talk somewhere? and they basically commiserate. And they're like, well, you know what? Sandman says, you know what? I'll meet you at this bank tomorrow. I'll go try to rob that bank. We can finish our fight tomorrow. But let's just talk for now.
Yes.
And it's a very sweet moment between the two of them, because they're both in the same position. Good quote, good guy or bad guy. They're both just like, what the hell just happened to me?
Yeah, like I said, I love when you get in the head, like Peter's head. Yeah, it's even Sandman. But Harry, I mean, that's what Lilith and I even said. I don't know if anyone has really done the deep dive on Harry. I don't know if anyone's done more for the whole fleshed out character of Harry Osborn than you. Because, especially now, you know, since he's been back, everyone wants to go to Norman. But it's like, yeah, I mean, the 90s, I think you fleshed out Harry so well. And I think it helped Norman wasn't around.
I prefer the Harry Osborn Green Goblin to the Norman Green Goblin. It was Jerry Conway who introduced that idea of Harry started losing it and becoming the Green Goblin. I resurrected that. So credit where credit's due to Jerry. But to me, what makes it wonderful to write as a writer in that Spectacular Spider-Man run was that they are absolute enemies and they're the best of friends.
Yes.
There's all this anger and hatred, and they absolutely love each other. You know, and it's that push and pull, all those emotions that makes for a great story. So, you know, that ran through 2 years of Spectacular Spider-Man. So I got to take a very, very, very deep dive. And to revisit the Osborns at this point in time, it's a very different dynamic. And Peter and Harry don't really know each other. Spider-Man rescues Harry at one point, but they don't know each other at all. So when they meet in college, it's essentially meeting for the first time. But we really get to really, really look at what Harry's going through, and then there's Harry's relationship with Gwen as well. Yeah. She's like the light in his darkness. She's his best friend, and that's a very sweet connection as well.
Yeah, like and Gwen and Captain Stacy are also in this thing. did you want to do a deep dive on the Stacy family, or you're like, let's get into
this?
Well,
it was not. Gwen is not a character I've had a chance to write a lot.
Yeah.
And so it was nice. Unfortunately, it's a 4-issue miniseries, and there's a lot going on. So I could have used another issue to give me a little more room. If anyone gets a little bit of short shrift, it's probably the Stacys. I still give them their due, and I tried really hard to explore what they're going through, because there's all the loss. Peter's loss, Norman's loss of his wife, Harry's loss of his mother, Gwen's mother literally dying. It's all woven through all these stories. But I would have loved to have a little bit more room with the Stacys.
Yeah, I would love to see more of what you would do with the Stacys. I think we talked last time. I'm sure you can't say anything, but did you say there's another Spider-Man project coming eventually?
There is, but it's nothing I can talk about. I haven't started writing it. I'm going to start it probably in September.
Oh, nice.
So you won't see it till next year.
Wow, okay. All right.
If you want, I'll just make something up and.
People call me a liar. All right. But yes, let's. I wanted to get. Let's definitely talk about Death in the Family. Robin Lives, because again, only the first issue is out so far. So, kids, go pick this up.
Before we finish with Spider-Man, I do have to give credit to our wonderful artist Michael St. Maria.
Yes.
Such a wonderful job. New artist. I was completely unfamiliar with his work, and I watched him. He came out of the gate really strong, and then I watched him every issue get better and better and better. Did a beautiful, beautiful job. Really, really captured the emotions in the story and delivered on the action as well. Because it's difficult. There's a lot of intense emotion in this story.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of guys can deliver the slam and bang. They maybe can't deliver the quiet moments. I love the artists that can do both, and he did a beautiful job of both.
Oh yeah, just portraying the emotion, even the physical stuff, the fight scenes and everything. Oh yeah, it was all beautiful. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to mention to you. Yeah, just the whole thing with Peter and Aunt May. Just the I don't want to say tension between them, but just everything there. May losing her husband, Peter, of course, as we all know, feeling guilty about the whole thing.
And then he comes home after one of these battles, and he's all beaten up.
Mm-hmm.
And Aunt May is like, she doesn't know what happened to him. He makes up some story about, I just got in some fight with some guys, and she's like completely furious with him. I just lost my husband. I don't want to lose my nephew too. And she stops talking to him for a few days.
Yeah.
And also then both of their natures. Peter doesn't want to dump his grief on her because he thinks that'll just open all her wounds. And she doesn't want to dump her grief on him for the same reasons. So they're both, in trying to spare each other, are making it worse for each other. And it takes some time for them to finally just let their guards down and open up.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, like I said, great series. I wanted to mention it, especially if the trade's coming out. So yeah, either pick up the issues, pick up the trade, kids. I'm sure it's digital. Pick it up. Highly recommend this. This man knows how to write Spider-Man. He's been doing it for.
I've had 40 something years of practice. Maybe one day I'll get it right. I was remembering recently. I just told somebody this. I forget about this. One of the first jobs Jim Shooter ever threw me at Marvel, before I really was doing anything regular there, he would throw me these little gigs because he liked my work. I wrote plots for French Spider-Man stories. I wrote a couple of plots for French Spider-Man. So I would write I think they were short stories. They might have been 8 or 10 pages, something like that. I would write a plot, then I'd give it to a French writer, and a French artist. So the artist would draw from my plot, and a French writer would do the final dialogue and everything. But I forgot about that. So really, from the minute I walked in the door at Marvel, I've been writing Spider-Man. And it's amazing to me when I realize it's been this continuity for decades. And it's an extraordinary thing. And you develop such deep relationships with these characters.
Well, that's the thing I just found out not too long ago. I thought when they reprinted Spider-Man in other countries, I thought they were just reprinting the regular stories and just translating it. So I guess
which they do a lot of.
But I guess some countries they must do original stories because
I guess so, because I did that French stuff, and apparently there was a lot of stuff, at least in that era, that was being done for the French market.
Yeah, because I read something not too long ago. I guess back around the time of Gwen's death. Was it in Mexico?
I think so. I read about that too.
Yeah.
They just were creating their own storylines.
Yeah, they didn't kill off Gwen because they're like, oh yeah, the readers aren't going to like that. So they just kept Peter and Gwen together and didn't kill her. Yeah.
And I think I know that Marvel had a British department in the 80s as well, where I think they might have been doing original stories for England as well, along with reprinting the American stuff.
Yeah, the biggest example I know of that is the when they were doing the Transformers comics. Yeah, I think they're the UK, they were doing a bunch of original stuff over there and reprinting the American ones too.
Yeah.
All right. So, like I said, Death in the Family, Robin Lives. Issue 1's out now. Issue 2 should be coming here soon. So
I think not this coming week, but the week after.
Yeah. So I know we talked about this briefly, I think, before it came out, but I wanted to talk to you. I mean, again, basically a big, huge what if on a very big event in Batman history. So
yeah, and the great thing for me about the fact that we are sort of branching off into our own timeline, for people that don't know, it's the famous Death of Jason Todd storyline. They did 2 versions, one where he lived, one where he died. The readers voted and he died. This is what would have happened had he lived. So we've got Jason, who's been beaten to within an inch of his life, barely survives. We have a Bruce Wayne, although he wouldn't admit it, tortured by guilt because he's the one that dragged this kid into these insane situations. And how do they pick up the pieces from that? And can you pick up the pieces from that is really the big question. And the good thing about this being its own timeline is we're not locked into anybody's continuity.
Yes.
We can do whatever we want. So I can tell you, since I finished the final issue a while back, that where this story ends is not where you might expect it to end. I took it to places that I don't want to get too into it, but I'm really happy with where we took it in the end. And again, it's just like the Spider-Man story. It's on one level, it's a very interior story. It's about trauma and how we deal with trauma. Jason is totally traumatized. Bruce, again, although he'd never admitted out loud, it takes him a while to come to grips with it, is also traumatized by what he's done. And the question of, well, what the hell's wrong with me that I haven't just done it with this one kid. I've done it before. I keep bringing children into these horrible situations. And there are clearly psychological reasons for it. And so as we take that journey with them, there's also, of course, just the fun of you have the Joker out there as a wild card. We bring in other Batman villains. So it's I figured I have 4 issues. I'm going to be in Gotham City. Let's bring in a bunch of other villains, too, and have some fun with it as well. So on the one hand, it's a big, fun superhero story going on. On the other, it's a very, very serious exploration of trauma and grief.
And can I just mention the art? I mean, I love this man's art.
Anyway,
I love his art, but again, it kind of sets like a tone for me, almost like, oh yeah, I mean, Death in the Family was 88, but I'm like, when I see his art, I just think of the 90s. I'm just like, oh yeah, this kind of sets a tone for me. It's like, oh yeah, this could be a book that came out around that time. So the art really helps set the tone for that. Yeah. He
did a beautiful job. He's a wonderful storyteller. He's got a very elegant style, really, is what I'd say. His line work is very, even if you're in the middle of a fight between the hero and villain, there's still an elegance to it, Really, well, he's been doing this almost as long as I have, maybe as long as I have, so he knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. All right, I have a question. I don't know if you have the answer to this, but on the cover it says "From the DC Vault." I'm like, what is that? To me, it almost sounds like, oh, this is a reprint, but it's not a reprint. It's original content.
It's not. No. Yeah, it's true. It actually, I never thought about that, but that is a little misleading. I have no idea why it's called that. I have no idea, unless they're going to be doing a whole line of these, picking up old storylines, and so that will become the thing. But that I actually don't know. I can't even make up an answer for that, except to guess that maybe there will be a line of these down the line. But that's completely guesswork on my part.
Because I was going to say, it seems like they are making a push for a return to like Elseworld stuff, which again just clicks something else in my head. Aren't they reprinting some of your Elseworlds? Because then I see Speeding Bullets is coming, and I
just got an advanced copy of the Superman Elseworlds that has Speeding Bullets.
Nice.
That's coming up soon. That's another one of my favorite stories. This beautiful blending of the Superman and Batman mythos. I learned recently that the plural of mythos, I believe, is mythoi, O-I, which I've never heard before. It kind of sounds Yiddish, mythoi.
I never heard that either.
And then also they're reprinting the crossovers, the DC Marvel crossovers,
yes.
And I did 2 Spider-Man Batman crossovers, one for Marvel, one for DC.
The only ones.
The only ones, and those will both be in that volume. I'm not sure when that one's coming out, but I think relatively soon.
Yeah, maybe, I thought by the fall, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think in the fall. That sounds about right. It's nice to see. It's back in the day when I was starting out, things were not, other than maybe you'd see the reprints in regular comics. But the idea of things being collected, when I did Craven's Last Hunt, it was still very new that they collected it in a hardcover, like, the next year or whatever it was. And now, if you wait long enough and take enough deep breaths, everything gets reprinted and gets collected. So, to see all these things that we've been talking about getting collected, next year there's going to be new editions of Moonshadow and Brooklyn Dreams from Dark Horse, and just a lot of stuff. So it's things stick around so that it brings in new audiences. So people are reading these things it's not just the people that read it when they came out.
Yes.
It's people that can discover these books and these stories now, which is really gratifying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all these characters like Spider-Man, Batman have such rich histories. It's great when they reprint all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just clicked to me. I was like, oh, yeah. I'm like, he has some Elseworld stuff coming out. Yes, that Marvel, DC, the crossover stuff's coming out. So I'm sure you don't know, or if you do, you can't say. So reprinting those crossovers, is there something coming with any new crossovers coming out?
I am not. That's above my pay grade. I would guess there must be. If they got together to do that, then why not take it all the way?
Yeah.
But that's just guesswork on my part. Like I said, I'm the guy that's scrolling through the solicits every month to find out what's coming out. So unless I'm working on a project specifically, I don't know. And I can tell you right now, I am not working on any DC and Marvel crossovers.
Because it just seems like the last 10, 15 years they haven't done any crossovers, and all of a sudden they've come together to reprint that stuff. So
yeah, I'd like to do like weird crossovers, like Swamp Thing and Man Thing. I would love to do that.
Yes!
Or Dr. Fate and Dr. Strange.
Yeah,
something like that. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many people.
I want to say one more thing about the Batman story.
Yes.
Because we were talking about how we can take that story any place we want. The story opens with Joker getting a bullet in the head. And then we flash back, and we're all leading up to. We don't find out how that happened till pretty much the last issue. But that's what I mean. It's not a fake out. The opening of the story is the Joker is killed. That's something you can't do definitively in the regular comics. It's always like, we think he's dead, but we're not sure. This is he gets a bullet in the head and he's dead, and that's just the opening salve of this story.
But yeah, I know Lilith and I are all intrigued where this is going. It's like, is Jason going to become Red Hood again? Is he going to become a violent vigilante? Or is something going to happen to Batman? Is Batman just going to go off on a violent streak? That's it's the sky's the limit, because again, this is another timeline. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Exactly. And
it
ends in a way. There is no sequel planned, but it ends in a way that it can open the door on another story while telling an absolutely complete story in these 4 issues.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could see a demand for a sequel for this. Again, it's a big moment in Batman history. And I love I don't think it's the actual newsprint, but they kind of did like the paper quality in this it's not like
it's kind of retro paper.
Yes, yeah. Openness. I'm like, I feel like it's like 1988 all over again.
Right.
Yeah.
And we probably talked about this before, though. Both the Spider-Man and the Batman project, they call them nostalgia projects. But if that's all it is, then it's not worth the paper that it's printed on. You have to bring something new to the table. You have to shine a new light on these characters, and hopefully when you're done, come away with a new understanding of who they are. And that's what I tried to do with both of these series. Because if we're just sort of like hitting that nostalgia vein and, it reminds me when I was 12, then you might as well read the old comics. You have to bring something new to the table.
Mm-hmm. Well, something new in this, yeah. For page 1, Joker's dead, so.
He's such a fascinating character to write. Talk about something I'd like to see reprinted. I did a Batman story for Legends of the Dark Knight back in the 90s called Go Insane.
Yes.
If I was picking my favorite superhero story that I've ever done, it'd be really close to the top.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful art by Joe Staton and Steve Mitchell, where we really got to do a deep dive into the Joker's character. I would love to see that one reprinted.
So would you put that, you want to put that one above Craven's Last Hunt, would you?
If not above it, certainly on par with it in terms of my experience writing it and my satisfaction with the finished story. It's not as well known, clearly, and that's another. It was reprinted once, very briefly, and then disappeared. And with another Joker movie coming out, it'd be a great idea to reprint that. And since I'm seeing things that I never expected to be reprinted, or things that I've been waiting decades to be reprinted coming out, I'm hoping there's a good chance we could see that again.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff with, like Legends of the Dark Knight and like anthology stuff like that. A lot of times they don't see a lot of reprints. So
yeah, there was great. Forget my stories. There was great stuff in Legends of the Dark Knight. Creators could come in and tell their 4 or 5 issue story and get out.
Yeah,
and a story with a beginning, middle, and end that isn't beholden necessarily to any monthly continuity. That just tells a good, solid story.
Yeah. Hello, Russell. Yeah, he says, happy to hear your Spectacular Spider-Man run is going to be collected.
Yeah, I am too.
That is such a great Spider-Man run. Yes, yeah. But you were talking about the Joker. So yeah, the Joker's probably a great character to write, but is he kind of hard because, like, do editors or anyone say, because it's like you can't definitively nail down a Joker origin where it's like, okay, this is exactly who he was before the accident. So does that make it harder?
Well, that was the fun of going sane, was instead of going back, we went forward.
Yeah.
He thinks he's killed Batman, so his mind snaps. And if your mind snapped, you'd go crazy. His mind snapped and he goes sane. And he creates this complete other identity and persona, this sweet, meek little man who likes to listen to like 1940s radio and old, likes to watch old Charlie Chaplin movies and falls in love with his neighbor and has this sweet little life. So no, you can never tell. I hope no one ever tells a definitive Joker origin, because that's part of the mystery of the character. Was he before this happened, like the guy that I created in Going Sane, or was he something completely different? We'll never know. I hope we'll never know. Yeah. But it was fun in Going Sane to create this other persona for him, which I believe is certainly an aspect of who he really is, if not the totality of who he really is.
Yeah,
so that's what made one of the things that made that story fun.
Yeah, that I never hope they give us. I hope they never give us a definitive Joker origin. I like where it's stories like that, where it's like, yeah, I'll say he's so crazy. He's like, well, I could have been this, but
yes, you could do 5 different origins of the Joker told by him. It would be a great story if they haven't done it already. Just to have the Joker telling you, this is who I really was, and go off. No, well, maybe not. This is who I really was.
He's either like, I'm so crazy I can't remember, or I just don't care because again,
I just want to screw with your head, and now I'm going to tell you as many different versions of the truth, if it's even the truth, as I possibly can. Because
that's the other side. Is like, I don't like when they do stories where he's trying to find out who Batman is. I love when he's like, because I don't know if he was even like that in the that original Death of the Family, who's just like, I don't care who you are under that mask. This is the real you. This is who I like to play with. I don't.
That's what he.
I don't want
that
boring guy. Yeah.
He cares about Batman. Batman is. And I don't mean this in a romantic way, but Batman is his true love in a lot of ways. He is the focus of his existence. It's this game that he plays with him. And you never know with the Joker. Maybe it is romantic. Who knows? We don't know what goes on in that head. Anything is possible.
Yes. Hello, Russell. I got another question. He says, you and Roger Stern are 2 of his favorite Spidey authors. Do you keep in touch with Roger Stern at all? He hasn't heard anything out of him for years.
No. I had an email with him last year about something, and I think I saw him at a convention. This has to be, a couple of years before COVID, but no, we don't keep in touch. Yeah, Roger... We can sidebar into Roger. I'm happy to do. Roger is one of the great unsung heroes, or not that people don't appreciate his work, but I think it should be even more appreciated than it is. The work that he did at Marvel, especially in the 80s, late 70s into the whole 80s, every book he touched was gold. I don't think he did a run on any book that was less than stellar. I mean, a really, really fantastic writer who understands how to take these characters that have been around forever, pay tribute to that history, and yet bring something new to it. He's a really, really talented writer. His work on Spider-Man is just exceptional.
Oh, yeah, just the Hobgoblin stuff and everything. Yeah.
But his Captain America run, Doctor Strange, Avengers, his work on the Hulk. I mean, he did so much great work. And then he went on and did all that work on Superman at DC after that.
That's what
I'd love to see him back doing more work. I'd love to see that.
That's what I always tell people. I'm like, there's such a golden age of Captain America for me. Because everyone's like, where should I read Captain America? I'm like, start with Roger Stern, go to J.M. DeMatteis, and then go right into Mark Grunwald. And I'm like, that is like years.
And we all built on each other. You know what I mean? I built on this beautiful foundation that Stern and Byrne had created, and then I built that up from there. And then Mark took it from there. And then Mark took it for 10 years. Right?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. There's like that's at least probably like a 15, 20 year, I'm just like, people read that. That's just.
Yeah, I was on the book for like 3 years, I think, around 3 years. And I don't know, Stern and Byrne had a pretty short run, but in that short time, it was one of the best runs in the history of the character.
Yeah, just all you guys together. I saw a new comment. Okay, never mind. But back to our Batman talk. I mean, speaking of Batman, you did tell me last time that you did write a season 2 episode of Batman Cape Crusader, because season 1 just dropped.
I know.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Yesterday I was I had a really, really bad headache, so I couldn't work. So I just kind of laid around like a lump and binging Cape Crusader. It's a great show. I love the whole 40s noir thing. Yes. I love the animation style. Just the way they have Batman move physically. Mm-hmm. It's just incredible. You know, it's a really, really, I can't talk about the episode I've written. I'm sure. Sworn to secrecy. And of course, that's not coming till the second season, which I don't even know when that's coming out. Maybe in the fall, maybe next year. I have no clue. But yeah, it's a really great show, and I certainly imbibed quite a bit of it yesterday.
Oh yeah, the first day I was like, I'm going to try not to watch the whole season, because they put the whole season. I'm like, I'm going to try not to watch the whole season. I watched like 8 episodes the first day.
Yeah, that's about where I am. I think I have 2 more to go.
Yeah, me too. When you found out you're writing an episode, did they have to give you like the like the general notes, like, you know, this is the vibe, it's like the noir?
Yeah, well, and they let me see specific episodes that related to the episode that I was writing, or if they didn't have a finished episode for me to see, they gave me scripts and things. So I got a general vibe, but you know, the show is still so new that really it comes out more in the back and forth with the folks on staff. So they go, no, well, Bruce, you know, we all have our specific Batman in our heads. Well, this version would not say that. He does not call Alfred. He calls him Pennyworth.
Yes.
Never would call him Alfred. He's a little distant. He's a little distant from his own self, let alone from the people around him. And I assume with each season he will grow a bit more into a fuller human being. But right now, my feeling, you can get it just looking at this stuff, that he's talking about trauma. This is a guy still dealing with his trauma and working it out through running around in this bat suit, who has it. He's dealing with the trauma, but he's not really dealing with his full humanity yet. That's the take that I walked away with. It's a really good show. I really enjoyed what I watched yesterday.
Oh yeah, I'm sad. I'm going to be sad when I finish it. I'll probably just go back and rewatch it again. But so, all right, I know you can't give specifics, but did you have a certain like villain in mind that you wanted to write, and were you able?
The way it works when you're, you know, the people on staff are sitting there mapping out a season, so they know the stories they want to tell. Yes. So when they come to a freelancer like me, it's like, here's the general beats of the story that we want to tell. Now, please develop this into a full outline, into a full story. And then we go back and forth on the story, batting it around for several drafts until we get that nailed down. And then we move on to the teleplay, and the same process happens. You work it back and forth. And I have to say, on Cape Crusader, there's a lot of executive producers, so there's a lot of people up there giving notes. So you have to sort of absorb all that. Luckily, you know, I mostly worked one-on-one with a wonderful writer named Jeff Thorne. But so he's filtering everything that's coming down and channeling that out to me, and we're kind of working out solutions between us. Really great guy. Really loved working with him.
So from I'm always curious about the creative process. So from the moment you find out you're writing an episode until, I guess, you send them a final script, like how long is that whole process? That's
a good question. It's often shorter. This must have taken a good 8 weeks, because there was, or maybe more, because there were enough people that had to read this in between and give their notes. Sometimes, you know, I've had other cases where you turn in the draft, you have notes in a few days, and you're off to the next draft, and you can blow through that process really quick in a matter of weeks. You know, they may give you, you know, a couple of weeks for the outline, a couple of weeks for the first draft, and then another week to wrap it up with the final drafts. You know, it depends upon their needs. They're working on the second season before the first season has come out. There was a little bit more breathing room, so this took a little bit more time. So there were periods in between where I was off working on other things. And then I'd say, okay, we have the notes. Let's get back on track with this. And I'd jump back into that.
But you said you were able to, they did show you some of the episodes from season 1 then?
Yeah.
So you could get a feel, okay.
Yeah. They showed me some, and they yeah. Oh, I always say, you know, one of the great things about what I do, it's like, okay, I'm starting a new comic book project. So they send me 20 issues of backstory that I need to be familiar with, or I'm working on an animated show and they go, here are a bunch of scripts and cartoons to watch. So my job is read comics and watch cartoons.
Yes.
And that's work.
Yes.
and whenever I get, a little cynical or jaded, all I have to do, I always say to go talk to my 10-year-old self and say, this is what I do for a living. I'm watching cartoons and reading comics, and it's my job.
Yes. That'd be the great, we could tell the family, no, I have to do this for work. No.
Right. That stuff I did when I was a kid that you thought I was wasting my time? It's my job.
See, Mom, you told me this was worthless. No, it's not. So you're fully immersed in Batman world. You're doing comics, you're doing animated stuff. So
yeah, and it's been a long time since I did any Batman, so it's really fun to just be back in Gotham City full time that way.
Yeah, I mean, Batman, Spider-Man, you're back again. Yes.
Oh, and also there's another Spider-Man thing coming out just this week. It's I always get the title wrong. It's like Black Suit and Blood, I think it's called. It's
I think so. Oh, is that coming out this week? Oh, I've been waiting for it.
I'm pretty sure it's coming out on Wednesday.
Nice.
I think it's 4, maybe 5 different stories. I went back to Kraven's Last Hunt, but not for a Kraven story. If you remember in Kraven's Last Hunt, the very opening scene is he goes to the funeral of this low-level criminal named Joe Face, who was a character that I created when I was working on Marvel Team Up. And so I thought, let's get into the backstory of Joe Face and who he was and why was Spider-Man there in the first place? What was their relationship? So it's a kind of a sweet story about the relationship between Spider-Man and Joe Face.
Nice.
Yeah. So once again, it's a little corner that hasn't been explored that I can shine a light on and illuminate both Joe and Peter in a new way.
I love when you get to come back to stuff even decades later, because I don't know if I've ever mentioned to you, I forget what anniversary issue of Captain America it was, but I believe you did a backup.
That was last year.
Arnie Roth. Yeah. I was like, wow, we got to wrap up Arnie's story. I mean, I love that, because just all that, because again, towards the end of Mark Grunwald's run, he kind of brought Arnie in, and then it's like you really hadn't seen him, and then again, you got to come back and tie up the story of this character that you created. So
yeah, that was nice, and that was just, I think that story was maybe 5 or 6 pages. It was a short little story, but it was very sweet. Yeah, Arnie is a character that I have a lot of affection for, and the relationship between Steve and Arnie, which actually formed the basis for the Bucky character in the first Captain America movie. Bucky's relationship with Steve in that movie is lifted completely from the Arnie-Steve relationship.
Oh yeah, I found the Arnie relationship even more intriguing because in the MCU it's like, they both become super soldiers, but it's like, back in the day, Arnie protected this scrawny little kid. Now all of a sudden the scrawny little kid's this big huge the defender of the whole country, and all of a sudden you're just like.
And then 40 years later, Arnie's walking down the street and he sees his friend looking exactly as he did 40 years before,
Exactly.
And then, of course, there's the added thing that Arnie's gay, and one of the first, if not the first, openly gay character in a Marvel comic.
Yes.
And that relationship and Steve's acceptance of Arnie. It's been really gratifying over the years. A lot of people have come up to me to tell me how much that character meant to them as gay readers at that time. And it's so funny because at the time I wasn't thinking, oh, let's do something groundbreaking and bring in a gay character. It just seemed natural to me for Steve Rogers because, he had a black best friend. His girlfriend was Jewish. Of course he'd have a gay friend. He represents that whole big tent that is America, that is America to me, at least, and to many of us, not to some people, but to most of us, I think, and certainly to Steve Rogers. So, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to bring in a gay character to represent gay, or nothing like that. It just seemed like a natural thing.
Sense. Yeah.
So to have these people come up to me and tell me that it really meant something to them is really, really gratifying.
But yeah, I couldn't remember if I tell you that, but yeah, I just love that you got to wrap up Arnie's story. So, all right, before we run out of time, because this man is very busy again. The DeMultiverse, or is it Phase 2?
Phase 2.
Yes.
It wraps up on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So, it's so funny in that, and we probably talked about this, while the Kickstarter is going on, you have to beat the drum. You have to be out there all across social media, letting people know about it. And you think you're being unrelenting, and you think people are just going, oh, won't he please shut up already? And then all of a sudden, someone goes, oh, really? You have a Kickstarter? Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So I realized that, until the final day, we have to keep doing it because as many people as I think know about it, that's how many people don't know about it. So the short version is we did the first Kickstarter at the end of 2022, and the books were delivered in a few months later in 2023. we did 5 new series with 5 different artists of 5 different genres. And for me to get 5 ideas out in the world at the same time is just an extraordinary thing.
Yes.
Not to mention working with these people. We have 4 main books and a bonus book. And so at the end of the first Kickstarter, and if you just check out my social media feed or go to my website or go to spellboundcomics.com, you'll get all the information you can possibly need. So I'll just note it in broad strokes. So at the end of the first Kickstarter, we had a vote. The idea was we thought people would vote, pick one title. The next Kickstarter, we would complete that miniseries. But we also gave them the option to vote for all the books. And they voted for all the books. So what we're doing with phase 2 is second chapters of all 5 books. This includes the bonus book, the 4 main DeMultiverse books. So we have the main books. We have wonderful alternate covers by some wonderful artists, which I'll mention in a minute. We have collected editions. You can get them in any way, shape, and form that you could possibly want. All the first issues are available as add-ons as part of the Kickstarter campaign. So you don't have to walk in blind and go, oh, it's chapter 2. Well, what happened in chapter 1? It's all there. It's all available. You can buy the whole trade from the first round and then jump in with round 2. So I'll quickly run through the books. Like I said, if you need more information, it's out there. Just follow me on social media or go to my website, go to spellboundcomics.com, and you'll get it all there. We have Layla and the Lands of After with Sean McManus, which is a big fantasy adventure that takes place in the afterlife. A 13-year-old girl's adventure. She thinks she's been swept away to Oz, but it's not Oz. She's dead, and she's in the afterlife. And she's got to get back. There's a small window to get back to her body. She's in a coma back on Earth. She's been hit by a car. And if she can't get back in time before that window closes, that's it. She is in the afterlife forever, or at least until her next incarnation, depending upon your point of view. So Sean, one of my favorite collaborators, who I did 2 years of Dr. Fate with to bring it back to where we started. Oh, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful job on the artwork. We have a variant cover by Marguerite Sauvage, a beautiful variant cover that she did. So second book is Any Man, which is on the surface the closest to a traditional superhero story. But as you dig, it's sort of like if you had Superman and then suddenly discovered that all this stuff about lone survivor of a dead race on Krypton and all this is a complete lie, and the story of who and what Superman is something completely different. So that's Any Man with David Baldion, who did the Ben Reilly Spider-Man miniseries with me. Fantastic artist. I'm so lucky. I'm working with just great artists across the line on these books. The variant cover for the second issue is Derek Robertson, who we all know as the co-creator of The Boys. Did a great cover for us. We move on to Godsend. I'm a huge fan of Kirby's New God. Anytime Kirby and Gods come together, I'm there. And this is sort of like New Gods meets The Matrix meets Philip K. Dick. It's a story about gods on Earth, but it's also a story about personal identity. It's a story about the nature of reality, who we think we are versus who we truly are, what reality truly is versus what we take it to be. So it is, to be blunt, it's a bit of a mindfuck story. Everything you think is going on, ultimately will turn out maybe is not going on just the way you think it is. And the first issue was done by Matthew Dow Smith. Matt had other projects that called him away, but he did come back to do our variant cover for the second issue. And Scott Koblish stepped in, did a great job with a lot of his own style, but a lot of Kirby-esque energy on the second issue. So that's Godsend. And then Wisdom is our supernatural Western. Tom Mandrake did the art. Tom, who is so wonderful, one of the great sort of mood and supernatural artists in comics, who also is a master of the Western. So he was the perfect artist for this. Just look at the cover that he did there. It's fantastic. It's sort of Lord of the Rings in the Old West, in the sense that it's a big cosmic epic. Now in the first chapters we're just it's like you're writing Lord of the Rings, but you're still sort of in the Shire.
Yes.
You're not quite there yet, but this is building up to a big supernatural epic in the Old West, with our main character who is a gunslinger / magician, who is tasked with stopping this darkness that's coming to take us all away, all against the historical backdrop of the Old West. So that's been really, really fun. Pat Zurcher did an amazing variant cover for that one. And then our bonus book is called The Evergloom Mysteries, illustrated by a wonderful artist from Greece named Vasilis Godzilis. And it's sort of like, what if Charles Dickens wrote Frankenstein. It takes place in its own world. It's sort of a cross between Victorian London and modern times. So Victorian London with technology and cell phones and things. And our main character is a monster that's been cobbled together by the parts of other multiple dead people, and he is in his soul anything but a monster. He is a philosopher. He's a musician. He's a poet. He's a novelist. He writes symphonies. He's a historian, but he's drawn out with his little group of followers into this mystery when his city is suddenly invaded by these monstrous forces. So it's sort of Frankenstein meets Sherlock Holmes meets Charles Dickens. How's that for a one-liner?
Oh, wow.
And so there's the second issue of that is available as a bonus. It's not considered part of the main. It won't be in the collected edition. So you can get the books as singles. You can get them with the variant covers. You can get them as collections. Both collected editions have covers by Liam Sharp, the great Liam Sharp, one of my favorite collaborators also. We did Man-Thing together at Marvel in the 90s. And have been trying to get a project together again ever since. And we're lucky to have him back to come back and do that again. So I think I covered all the broad beats there. But, the thing is, I have plans for these stories. First of all, we want to finish the initial stories, what would be the initial miniseries. And then these stories continue to explode and move on from there. So I have years of stories there. We met our basic goal, so everyone knows they're getting their books. That's not an issue. You will get your books, and these books are 95% done now, so you will get them on time. Won't be waiting around for 2 years for us to finish. We have some lettering on one book, basically, and a little bit of coloring to finish, and put the trade together, and we're off to the printer. But in order for these books to continue, we need to bring in enough on this Kickstarter, so that because there's been some sizable financial investment on the part of Spellbound Comics to make this happen. We want to make sure that investment is repaid enough to know that they can move forward with these books. So I hope that if you have been on the fence, or if you didn't know about this till now, we just have till Tuesday. So please come along. I think we will find a way to make the books available after the Kickstarter. But in order for us to know that we can continue, the more people that join us on the Kickstarter, the better. So that's my pitch there, other than to say, it really has been and still is just one of the greatest creative experiments of my life, to get to work on all these projects with all these wonderful artists and put them out in the world simultaneously. You don't get a chance to do that very often or at all. So I would love to see this continue.
And again, it's such a great, project, the read, because just the complete package is here. You're the master writer. You work with such great artists, and then you have such a great machine behind you with Spellbound, where it's like you're going to get your books, and everything's the trains are running on time, and everything's running smoothly. So, yeah. I hope if you've enjoyed my work at all, this is me unleashed in tandem with really just an incredible array of really, really brilliant artists. So please come join us. I think I told everyone.
And to everyone that has come along so far, I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. It really means the world to us. I keep saying it's a cliche, but it's true. We can't do it without you.
Yeah.
When it comes to Kickstarter, it's just you and the audience, and that's it.
Yeah. And I keep telling everyone, I said, if you love your work, you'll love every single one of these series.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Because I honestly thought, I'm like, I'll probably like one, there might be one I don't like. Everything. I'm just like,
oh, that's great. That's
like,
really
I gotta
great.
get all these, So yes.
And I can honestly say that they just get better because the stories broaden out. It's like I likened it to somebody recently. It's like if you're watching the pilot of Lost, say, well, that's a really cool pilot, but all this crazy stuff that's about to come that you have no idea when you see the first episode. And that's what those first issues were. You want to deliver a compelling story, but I know in my head it's like it's a tree, and there are so many branches, and this tree is going to grow so tall, and all you've seen is the roots of the tree. So with the second chapters, we get to spread those branches out a little bit, and hopefully we will have the opportunity to continue to let this tree grow.
So with anything comics, TV, it's like, okay, the first one, here's the world, here are the rules, but then when you get to the second one, you're like, okay, well, here's what I get to do with the rules.
Exactly, and so much more to come. Yeah, so much more to come.
All right, so on that note, kids, go sign up for the DeMultiverse Phase 2. I'm gonna let this man go because not only is he working on 20 things at once as usual, but He's on his press tour.
Almost done, and then I'm going on vacation.
Oh, nice. Well, vacation. He'll just be working. He won't be promoting.
I don't mind doing some writing when I'm on vacation. Because it's in fact, when I'm away, it sort of opens the unconscious up even more, so I can just sit and relax and get those ideas down. But really, I'm going away on this vacation to a very quiet place in the woods, on the water, and with my family, and I'm looking forward to it.
Because I think we talked about this last time. I think you said you can't go more than like a week without putting pen to paper, maybe.
Yeah, or what happens, even if I'm not actively writing, what happens is the ideas start percolating. So I may not be working on that thing that I'm supposed to be working on because some new idea just popped up. And that's always fun for me, because then it's just like I just have the fun of throwing ideas down, and I can worry about shaping them later, But there's always something that comes. And in a way, the more I remove myself from my day-to-day life, the more that door to the unconscious just opens wider and all these new ideas. So who knows, maybe by the time I get back from vacation, I'll have 5 new books to work
on. Nice. All right. So yes, kids, go get Death in the Family, Robin Lives. Go watch Batman Cape Crusader. And of course, most importantly, go sign up for the DeMultiverse Phase 2.
If you just go to my website or look at my stuff on social media, or go to Spellbound Comics, you'll see the link there, and you can hop on over to DeMultiverse Phase 2.
Yes. All right. Thank you, sir. The great Mr. James.
Thank you, Phil. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And I'm sure I'll see you again soon, because it always seems to work out that way.
I'll bug you as many times as you let me, sir.
Okay. You're not bothering me in the least.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.